There comes a moment in the quiet, unassuming corners of life where the universe pauses, where the invisible threads of fate tighten almost imperceptibly, and something shifts, not with fanfare or announcement, but with the silent, seismic force of a tectonic plate moving beneath the ocean's surface. You, yes, you, the one who fed the stray without a second thought, who held the door for the person everyone else ignored, who gave your time, your energy, your last piece of bread to someone who could never repay you. You just triggered something ancient, something watching, something that never forgets a debt. You didn't think anyone noticed, did you? You assumed your kindness was just another drop in the endless ocean of human interaction, another fleeting moment of decency, in a world that often rewards only the loudest, the most aggressive, the most self-serving. But here's what you didn't realize. That stray wasn't just a stray. That moment wasn't just a moment. It was a signal, a frequency so rare, so pure, that it cut through the static of a world drowning in transactions and landed directly in front of eyes that actually see. You didn't just help someone. You passed a test you didn't even know you were taking. And now, in rooms you'll never see, in conversations you'll never hear, your name is being spoken, not as gossip, not as small talk, but as potential, as an anomaly, as someone worth paying attention to. Because the people who operate at the highest levels of influence, the ones who move through the world with the kind of power that bends reality itself, they aren't impressed by resumes or performances or the noise of self-promotion. They've seen it all before. They've been disappointed by everyone who ever tried to manipulate their way into favor. What they crave, what they're desperate for, is authenticity in action, character under pressure, goodness without an audience. And you? You just displayed it without even trying. You didn't perform kindness for likes or applause or future favors. You did it because it was right, because something inside you, something this world tried to kill but couldn't, compelled you to act. And that right there is what just got their attention. Now, let's talk about what happens next. Because this isn't some fairy tale where kindness gets rewarded with cash and prizes like a cosmic vending machine. No, this is far more interesting and far more dangerous than that. This is about recognition, about being seen by eyes that actually matter, by minds that can move pieces on boards you didn't even know existed. That stray you fed, that person you helped when it cost you something, that moment of integrity when no one was watching. That wasn't just a random act. It was an audition you never signed up for, a doorway disguised as a dead end. And you beautiful, unsuspecting soul, you passed without even trying. Because you weren't trying. That's the whole point. You weren't calculating the return on investment of your compassion. You weren't performing goodness for an audience. You just moved from some place inside you that this world tried to kill but couldn't. And that is what made you interesting to someone who doesn't get interested easily. Right now, in this very moment, they are watching you, not with suspicion, not with judgment, but with something far more dangerous than either: respect. You became interesting to someone who stopped believing people like you existed. Someone who's been searching for proof that something in this world still operates outside of transactions, outside of manipulation, outside of the filthy machinery of self-interest. Someone who owns things, not just money, not just power, but influence that bends reality. Access that opens doors you didn't know existed. Resources that could change your life in ways you haven't dared to imagine. And now, because of that one quiet, unassuming act of kindness, you're on their radar, not as a charity case, not as a project, but as an anomaly, as someone worth investing in, as someone who might just be the real deal in a world full of imitations. Here's what you need to understand, before this wave hits you, before your life gets interrupted by forces you weren't expecting. This isn't about you getting rescued. This isn't about some powerful person swooping in to save you from your circumstances. This is about you being recognized for what you already are, for what you've been building in silence, for the foundation you laid when no one was watching and no reward was promised. They're not coming to change you. They're coming because you don't need to be changed. They're not coming to fix you. They're coming because you're not broken. They're not coming to teach you values. They're coming because you already embody the values they've spent lifetimes trying to instill in people who never quite got it. You are the finished product walking around in a world full of prototypes. You are proof that something in this world still operates outside of transactions, outside of manipulation, outside of the filthy machinery of self-interest. Someone who owns things, not just money, not just power, but influence that bends reality. Access that opens doors you didn't know existed. Resources that could change your life in ways you haven't dared to imagine. And now, because of that one quiet, unassuming act of kindness, you're on their radar. Not as a charity case, not as a project, but as an anomaly. As someone worth investing in. As someone who might just be the real deal in a world full of imitations. Here's what you need to understand before this wave hits you, before your life gets interrupted by forces you weren't expecting. This isn't about you getting rescued. This isn't about some powerful person swooping in to save you from your circumstances. This is about you being recognized for what you already are, for what you've been building in silence, for the foundation you laid when no one was watching and no reward was promised. They're not coming to change you. They're coming because you don't need to be changed. They're not coming to fix you. They're coming because you're not broken. They're not coming to teach you values. They're coming because you already embody the values they've spent lifetimes trying to instill in people who never quite got it. You are the finished product walking around in a world full of prototypes. You are proof that something in the human spirit still works the way it's supposed to, and that makes you valuable in ways you haven't begun to comprehend. Now let's talk about how this is going to unfold. Because when they make contact, and they will, it won't be obvious at first. The kind of people we're talking about, the ones who operate at levels where influence is measured in shifted realities rather than social media metrics. They don't announce themselves with trumpets and fanfare. They move subtly, strategically. You might get a strange message from an account you don't recognize. You might get invited to something that seems slightly outside your normal orbit. You might have a conversation with someone who seems to know more about you than they should, who asks questions that feel like they're probing for something deeper than small talk. You might get offered an opportunity that seems too good, too random, too perfectly timed to be coincidence. Pay attention. Pay very close attention. Because what's happening isn't luck. It isn't some random act of universal generosity. What's happening is that your frequency just matched with someone who's been scanning for exactly that signal. And here's what they're looking for in that first contact, in those initial tests. They're not looking for gratitude. They're not looking for you to fall at their feet, thanking them for noticing you. They're looking for the same thing they saw in your original act of kindness. Authenticity. Groundedness. The ability to receive without losing yourself. To accept opportunity without becoming desperate. To engage with power without becoming servile. Because here's the secret about people who actually have power. Real power. The kind that moves mountains and reshapes industries and changes lives. They're surrounded by people who want something from them every single day. They're drowning in flattery and manipulation, in performance, in people who've learned to simulate authenticity so well they've almost forgotten they're performing. What they crave, what they're desperate for, is someone who doesn't need them. Someone who doesn't transform into a different person the moment they realize who they're talking to. Someone who stays themselves, regardless of what's on the table. And if you can do that, If you can engage with this moment, with this opportunity, with the same honesty you showed that stray, with the same grace you gave when no one was watching, then everything changes. Doors that were welded shut are going to swing open. Conversations that seemed impossible are going to happen naturally. Resources that seemed forever out of reach are going to become available. Not because you manipulated your way in, not because you worked and schemed and performed, but because you demonstrated something that can't be taught, can't be faked, can't be manufactured. The capacity to be human in a world that's forgotten how. So here's your call to action. Not just for today, but for the rest of your life. Stay you. When the message comes, when the invitation arrives, when the opportunity presents itself, walk through that door with the same quiet confidence that got you here. Because the people who are about to enter your life, they're not coming to save you. They're coming because you don't need saving. They're coming because you've already proven you're someone who operates from a place of strength, not desperation. Someone who stays grounded even when the stakes get high. Someone who doesn't morph into a different person the moment they realize who they're talking to. Someone who stays themselves, regardless of what's on the table. And if you can do that, if you can engage with this moment, with this opportunity, with the same honesty you showed that stray, with the same grace you gave when no one was watching, then everything changes. Doors that were welded shut are going to swing open. Conversations that seemed impossible are going to happen naturally. Resources that seemed forever out of reach are going to become available. Not because you manipulated your way in, not because you worked and schemed and performed, but because you demonstrated something that can't be taught, can't be faked, can't be manufactured. The capacity to be human in a world that's forgotten how. So here's your call to action. Not just for today, but for the rest of your life. Stay you. When the message comes, when the invitation arrives, when the opportunity presents itself, walk through that door with the same quiet confidence that got you here. Because the people who are about to enter your life, they're not coming to save you. They're coming because you don't need saving. They're coming because you've already proven you're someone who operates from a place of strength, not desperation. Someone who stays grounded even when the stakes get high. Someone who doesn't morph into a different person the second power enters the room. There exists a rare breed of individuals, those who have spent lifetimes navigating the shadows of human interaction, those who have witnessed the slow erosion of integrity in a world that rewards only the loudest, the most ruthless, the most self-serving, who recognize the unmistakable glow of authenticity when they finally encounter it. These are the people who have been searching, not just with their eyes, but with their instincts, their very souls, for proof that something real still exists beneath the layers of performance and pretense. They have tested countless interactions, only to be met with the hollow echo of self-interest, the predictable calculus of transactional relationships. And then, they find you. The one who fed the stray without hesitation, who extended a hand when no one was watching, who chose kindness even when it cost something, who embodied integrity in a moment when compromise would have been easier. And when they find you, something inside them shifts, because you are not just another face in the crowd. You are not another performer in the grand theater of ambition. You are the exception, the anomaly, the living proof that the values they've spent a lifetime searching for still exist in this world. And when they find you, they don't just take note. They protect you. Not in the way one might shield a fragile object, but in the way a strategist safeguards a rare and invaluable resource. They invest in you, not out of charity, not out of pity, but out of a deep, strategic recognition that people like you are the most precious commodity in a world overflowing with everything else. You are the raw material that cannot be manufactured, the integrity that cannot be counterfeited, the kindness that cannot be replicated by those who operate solely on self-interest. And because of that, they will create pathways for you. They will open doors you didn't even know existed. They will extend opportunities that seem to materialize out of thin air, not because they feel sorry for you, but because they recognize that you are someone worth betting on. Someone who doesn't just talk about values, but lives them, even when no one is watching. But here's the warning, and you need to hear this, not as some soft, motivational cushion, but as a hard, unyielding truth. This will change you, and not in the ways you might expect, not in the ways fairy tales promise, where everything suddenly becomes easy and bright. Number. This will change you in ways that are deep, uncomfortable, and relentless. It will test everything you think you know about yourself, about your values, about the lines you've drawn in the sand. Because when the opportunities arrive, when the doors swing open, when powerful people extend their hands, you will be faced with choices. Hard choices. Choices about who you are at your core, about what you're willing to compromise, about whether you will adjust yourself to fit into spaces that were never designed for people like you. You will feel the pressure to perform, to prove that you deserve this newfound recognition, to smooth out your edges so you slide more easily into the mold of what they expect. You will be tempted to become more palatable, more strategic, more like them. And if you do, that if you lose yourself in the process of accepting their recognition, then the entire meaning of this moment evaporates. You become just another person who got an opportunity and let it corrupt them. Just another cautionary tale about how success changes people, how power twists integrity, how no one stays true when the stakes get high enough. Don't do that. Don't you dare do that. Because the only reason they are coming for you is that you didn't do that when it cost you nothing to maintain your integrity. You held your ground when nobody was watching, when there was no reward, no applause, no future favor to be gained. You stayed true when it would have been easier to bend, to compromise, to play the game. That's what made you interesting. That's what triggered their sensors. That's what made them move. So when they arrive, when the tests begin, when the opportunities present themselves, stay exactly who you were when you fed that stray. Stay grounded. Stay honest. Stay human. Because that's the only version of you that's actually worth elevating. That's the only version of you that can handle what's coming without being destroyed by it. That's the only version of you they actually want to invest in, even if they never say it explicitly. Even if they test you in ways that seem to demand something different. Now, let me paint you a picture of what this looks like in practical terms, because I know you're wondering how this manifests in the real world, not just in poetic metaphors or metaphysical musings, but in the tangible, everyday reality of your life. That good deed you did, that moment of kindness that cost you something. It didn't just create warm, fuzzy feelings in the universe. It created information. Information about who you are, how you move, what you value, what you're capable of when no one is watching. And that information, it traveled. Maybe it moved through someone who witnessed it and couldn't stop thinking about it. Maybe it passed through systems of connection and coincidence, bringing your name up in conversations where it mattered. Maybe it flowed through energetic channels that science hasn't mapped yet, but that certain people, those who operate at frequencies most can't perceive, know how to navigate. However it traveled, it arrived somewhere it wasn't supposed to, in front of someone who wasn't supposed to see it. And it changed their assessment of reality, if only slightly. It made them pause and think, maybe not everyone is completely corrupted by self-interest. Maybe there are still people out there operating from something other than fear, greed, and desperate ambition. And when people at that level start wondering about you, things begin to shift. Algorithms tilt in your favor for reasons no one can quite explain. Your name surfaces in conversations that have nothing to do with your field, your background, or your resume. People you've never met start mentioning you to other people who matter. Opportunities materialize that seem to have no logical connection to anything you've done, no clear cause and effect relationship to your past actions. This isn't magic. This isn't wishful thinking. This is how influence actually works at levels most people never encounter. It's not about who you know. It's about who knows about you. It's not about your network. It's about the information traveling through networks about your character, your capacity, your essence. And right now, in this very moment, accurate, unfiltered information about you, about who you are when the world isn't watching, is moving through networks you don't have access to. It's reaching people you've never met. It's creating possibilities you haven't even imagined. All because you fed astray. All because you did something decent when it cost you something, when no one was watching, when there was nothing to gain. All because you proved something that needed to be proven to someone who needed to see it proven at exactly the moment they were paying attention. Here's what happens next, and you need to be ready for this. You're going to doubt it. When the opportunity arrives, when the door opens, when someone reaches out with something that seems too good, too random, too perfectly aligned with what you need, you're going to assume it's a trap. You're going to look for the catch, the angle, the hidden cost. You're going to wonder what they really want, what you're going to have to compromise, what piece of yourself you're going to have to surrender in exchange for this sudden stroke of luck. And I'm here to tell you, that's not entirely wrong. There will be costs. There will be tests. There will be prices you'll have to pay. But those prices won't be about compromising your core. They won't be about becoming someone you're not. They won't be about selling out the values that got you here in the first place. The prices will be about stepping into a bigger version of yourself, about accepting that you're worth more than you thought, about allowing yourself to be seen, to be valued, to be invested in by people who actually have the resources to back up their recognition with real, tangible support. The real test isn't whether you can perform for them. It's whether you can receive from them without losing yourself.